Hi, I'm Thunderbolt Radio Steve James, and on this weekend's 30 Minutes, we'll revisit an event from December 1987, which honored the late Coach Bob Dilday. Coach Dilday had just resigned from coaching football at Gleason School after 12 years to move with his wife and son back to Michigan. Coach Dilday passed away this past February. We hope you enjoy this weekend's 30 Minutes.
This proclamation from the county court. Whereas Coach Bob Dilday has brought national prominence to Weakley County and specifically to Gleason, Tennessee. And whereas Coach Dilday has coached at Gleason High School for 12 years, where he has built character and integrity in Gleason and Weakley County school students. And whereas Coach Dilday has carried teams to state playoffs, and whereas Coach Dilday has recognized by his peer group, coaches, and officials for being named Coach of the Year, and whereas Coach Dilday has put in thousands of hours of dedication to athletics, and whereas Coach Dilday has proven small schools can become winners, and whereas Coach Dilday is admired and respected by all his peers. Now, therefore, by the authority vested in me as the Weakley County Executive, I, Kerry S. Killebrew, do hereby declare the 15th day of December, 1987, as Coach Bob Dilday Day in Weakley County, and do urge all citizens to join me in this observance. Bob, this is for you. You can keep and remember.
I'd like to recognize a couple of people right quick. First off, I'd like to recognize, and I know he's in the audience, and if you will, please stand so I may recognize you. And this fellow is a graduate of Michigan State University, where Coach Bob Dilday played, and I don't know when he's missed a ball game this past season, but would Judge James Bradbury please stand up, please? Judge, thank you. Yes, sir. Stay up there, Judge. Another gentleman I'd like to recognize is County Commissioner Roger Van Cleve. He serves on the Health, Education, Welfare Committee. Thank you, Commissioner Van Cleve, for being here. And two people that came all the way from Jackson tonight. I don't know if they're the furthest away, but Mr. Fred Johnsey and his son, Fred Jr. Would you please stand, from Johnsey Sporting Goods? And Bubba, if that's not love, coming from Jackson to Gleason on a cold, wintry night like tonight, I don't know what is.
I'm going to be over there Saturday for Friday afternoon for the meal.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We appreciate your support of this school and this county and its athletic programs here. I'd like to take time now to recognize Representative Roy Herron, representative of the 76th District here. Representative Herron.
I come bringing greetings from a couple of people who could not be here tonight. One is Senator Milton Hamilton, who, as of yesterday morning, had told me, and I know he'd also talked with Paul, had written a letter, but I don't know if the mail's that slow from Nashville or what, but at any rate, it hasn't arrived. Senator Hamilton had a commitment tonight that he'd already made, and told me that he would like me to express his regrets at not being able to be here. And Bob, his congratulations to you, the job that you have done. I have a letter here from the Congress of the United States, the House of Representatives, Washington, D.C., from Congressman Ed Jones. I'm so sorry that I will not be able to be in Gleason for the celebration in honor of Coach Bob Dilday on Tuesday, December 15th at the high school. The House of Representatives will be in session, making it necessary for me to be in Washington. It is only fitting that the coach be recognized by his many friends and former students for his years of untiring efforts in behalf of the youth in the Weakley County area. We all know that the coach has dealt with these students at a very formative time in their lives, and they have all, without a doubt, walked away from that experience better persons who have conducted the rest of their lives in a way reflective of the teachings of the coach. Teamwork and good sportsmanship are definitely necessary on the field, but they are also characteristics needed throughout one's life. They are easier and better learned at an early age, and many folks can thank Coach Dilday for helping them learn these lessons. The coach will be sadly missed, especially by students and parents in Weakley County, but the whole Tennessee school system will be the less for his leaving our area. Please extend my very best wishes for future success and happiness to the Dilday family in their new home. Sincerely, Ed Jones, Member of Congress.
Now, don't tell me, I know that you people didn't come here to to listen to me, but I have about 3 or 4 things I must share with you here. I think it takes this for it to be halfway complete. Bob Dilday, as you found out, is not nearly so tough as he believes he is. Now, it hasn't been some 3 weeks that this thing began to happen, and he's had his bluff called here tonight because we called a verified date for this particular night, and he said, yeah, that night's fine, Bob. He said, what makes you think there'll be some people there? I said, don't sweat that, Coach. He said, I'll tell you what, to be sure there's some people there, would you sell me 100 tickets? I said, no way. So we would not let Bob Dilday have the tickets, and tonight I have offered him his 100 tickets at half price, and he backs up on me. Coach, we tell you, there's 100 tickets there, it'll be $250. Bob's sweating this deal just a little bit, but I told him not to worry. His wife told me, any expense you have here, just give a check on him, we'll go from there. To enlarge on some remarks that Ron Llewellyn, where is Ron? Yeah, I couldn't miss a fellow big as his. To enlarge on that a little bit, he told a story, a partial story about a little matter that happened down the road. It's really in the Dresden area, but down the road a little bit. Before his first season started, and I had this story verified by J.T. Moore this afternoon. I know it has to be true because J.T. Moore says it is. Okay, we had the little deal that Ron talked a little bit about, and it seemed like the next morning or pretty shortly thereafter, Ms. Moore was, I guess she was in charge of the cafeteria then. She had a board meeting with the Professor Moore. Said, hey, J.T., you know what's happened here over the weekend? You know, what in the world did you and Buford Ray do? You know, what's taking place here? He said, Ruby, sit down. Let me explain this thing to you. He asked that what you heard is true, but said, remember one thing, we brought this boy down here to coach. We didn't bring him to teach Sunday school. Got to tell you this other one thing. This story's leaked down here from the great state of Michigan, as he calls it. When he was up there, he maybe stayed a day or two longer than he meant to, and he's going to have to stay another night in a motel, so he told his wife. And maybe the dollars were getting a little thin. Maybe he didn't care enough, and they don't take those hillbilly checks up there, remember? So he stopped this motel, and he said, I need to spend the night here. Do you have a room? He said, yes, I do. He said, she said, yes, I do. I said, well, tell me about it. He said, thinking about the price. I said, well, we have a room here with a shower, and we have one of the tubs. Here he comes back to the dollars. He said, well, let's see what's the difference. And he'd been away from the north too long because the little lady said, well, you stand up in the shower. Is that the way it was, Coach? Yeah, we've charged all the food to you. I've been writing checks on you this week, so don't worry about a thing in the world. Let's go back to the serious side just a minute. Your friend J.T. Moore sends his regrets, and as you know, Mr. Moore's taking treatments over to Jackson Hospital at 3:30 every afternoon, and it wasn't possible for him to be back here tonight. But he sends his regrets, and I think you know without us going further about how fond he is of you, Bob Dilday.
Coach Dilday, a lot of people still don't believe you played at Michigan State University. Matter of fact, some of these guys here still don't believe it. So as I said, we researched the files and really dug deeply. It's a long way up there, you know it. But I want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, this is he. 1953. You're born. We ain't done yet, Bob. We're having a good time up here, and I know we're just getting wound up now. Mr. Roy Lee Hodges, would you please come forward? School board member, friend of Gleason, and friend of mine, and friend of Coach Bob Dilday.
Thank you, Paul. I'd like to introduce the rest of the board members, school board members that might be here. I don't think there's but two. Is there any other school board member out here that I might have missed? They've already been recognized, but I want to reintroduce them as school board members. Ron Llewellyn and Jerry Carpenter. Jerry is from Martin, Ron is from Dresden. I'd like to just take one short minute here and say a word about Bob Dilday on a fan's viewpoint. I want to thank him for all the years that he's been up here that I've been able to brag about Gleason football. I guess if I've got a friend in this county, it's Joe Dilday. Joe Cross down at Dresden. I'd rather beat Dresden on Friday night and talk to Joe Cross on Saturday morning than to eat when I'm hungry. Bob, on behalf of the players, the parents, the fans, and the friends of Weakley County, I'd like to present you with this gift, a token of our appreciation for the 12-year service at Gleason High School.
Coach, I think you've got to open it before you go anywhere else.
Really love it.
Gold watch.
Coach Dilday, Gleason High School, 1976 to 1988. Thanks an awful lot. Really appreciate it, and I love these things. I love watching. I don't like anything on the list. Beautiful. Great gift.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please give us a round of applause for Coach Bob Dilday and let him say a few words?
Well, I'll get you out here by the late movie. What's it start about 12 o'clock tonight? First of all, I'm serious. And you've taken my edge away, and I really don't know how to react to all this. It's just beautiful. First thing I want you to remember is this, that there's three things that I want to say. First of all, I owe Gleason and Weakley County. I feel much more like a man today than I did 12 years before I got down here. I've been able to do some things, learn a little bit about elementary kids, learn a little bit how to lose money out on the farm, so forth and so on, run equipment, but I feel more like a man, things that I always wanted to do. I had a happy childhood down here, believe it or not, and I dreamed about coming back, so it must have been good, and I just hope that everybody could have lived some of the early years that I lived down here, running up and down those dirt roads and stick horses and corrals and making a paddle and running a wheel up and down the road, and being your best friend, Okay, so I owe Gleason. I feel much more. And repeat, I would like to relive the 12 years that I've been here. Really, we can't relive our lives. I would do things a little bit different. No, I wouldn't soften up any because that's the way you win. But really, there's a lot of mistakes that I've made and so forth and so on. I would like to relive those years. The next thing I would like to say, I'm going to Michigan for one reason, and one reason alone. I have to face my responsibilities. So these are three things that I want you to know how I feel here tonight. The next thing that I would like to say is recognize just a couple people here, or maybe more. I should call out a lot more names, but their names have been called. Ernestine, 12 years ago, made me feel comfortable at Weakley County. She was director of secondary education. I never will forget walking in the courthouse and she said, "Welcome to Weakley County." I was the Yankee from up north, the wise guy. But nevertheless, she must have seen some good, so she said, "Welcome to Weakley County." She made me feel wanted. I think she's doing a super job as superintendent of the schools. All of her decisions will not be right, but she makes the decisions, and I love that. So, Ernestine, I'm glad that you're there, and I hope you're there many more years. Roy, thank you for being here, and thank all you other people for being here. Paul, you've done a super job. Roy, Lee, and the board members. I would also, these names have been mentioned before, but my dad, I cherish the bird hunting. I cherish the memories that we've had together. I cherish my mother and her great cooking and the ego and pride she tried to instill in me. My sister was probably my best friend as we grew up. Margaret has been married to me 36 years, and I've been married to her. It's been sort of like a roller coaster. Maybe you should give her a sympathy card every so often. I don't know. But anyway, it's been kind of exciting, I assure you that. I would like to recognize Robin and Cindy, my boy and girl. They have pride. They've sacrificed a lot. I'm proud of them. They're both tough kids. And, of course, Hal, my brother-in-law. I meant my older brother. He's my son-in-law, but we act more like brothers, and sometimes I call him my older brother because he worries more than I. But anyway, I think a lot of Hal, and, of course, my 4 granddaughters, and Holly and Chelsea couldn't be here tonight. They had to watch the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, but Brandy and Ashley are over there. And, of course, this is my family. All right, I think what's so great is fellow coaches, and I'm serious about this. Fellow coaches, you know, they're my peers, they're my equals, they're the people that I like to do business with. I don't like to be superior to anybody, and I don't like anybody thinking that they're superior to me. Coaches are a unique bunch of people. You know, sure, we say we want to beat this guy, and this guy's bad over there, but if they ever need me, they know I'm just a phone call away, and if I ever need them, I'm sure they're just a phone call away. So actually, some of the coaches that I've coached against, mainly in football, I'm going to leave out a few names, but Martin, Gary Capers, and Matt Thornton, they're both here tonight, both excellent coaches. McKenzie, Richard Chappell, wrote me a nice letter last week, and I respect Richard Chappell. I really do. I think he does a great job up there. Great gentleman. Greenfield, Jimmy Grooms, and Jerry Devini, and Jerry Gage, and back to Sharon when he had Jimmy Grooms again, and Larry Engel. Over at Dresden, he had Ron Llewellyn, and he told some stories here tonight. And old Ron used to come across the field and smile at me and say, "Nice game," after he beat me. After I would beat him, I'd walk across the field and smile and say, "Nice game." But nevertheless, we respect each other. Scott Hewitt, who's doing a marvelous job up there at Dresden. Okay, getting back to really what I want to put some emphasis on here tonight is the fact that no one begged me to come up to Gleason High School, regardless of what people said. I didn't have a job. I had tried to get jobs down here in Weakley County. I tried to get a job up at McKenzie, and I tried to get a job over at Greenfield, and different places, but didn't nobody want to hire me, I guess. So I just decided I'd move down here. I was out on the tractor when Buford Ray and J.T. Moore came out, and they said, "We have an opening. Would you come up to Gleason High School?" And I did come up to Gleason High School, and I told them, I said, "I will stay here until you find a coach." That was 12 years ago. Well, I've enjoyed every minute of it, especially J.T. Moore. Now, J.T. Moore, you know, we had a lot of rough times. I'm sure there was stormy times. In fact, the story's been told a little bit. Ruby gave J.T. an ultimatum. Either you fire the Ponderosa Kid or I'm moving over to Diane's. So, but Ruby and I are the best of friends today, and I just had some coffee with them. I think it was Sunday morning. I went over and had breakfast, some eggs and bacon, and Ruby's just a wonderful cook, and I love her to death. But anyway, there was a lot of stormy times. I would like also to some of the things that J.T. told me to go to. He says, we need some elementary physical education. Fine. I needed a challenge. We need some field days. I need a challenge. We need some rope-a-thons. Fine. Rope-a-thons. I need a challenge. Okay, so in other words, he gave me the light. He gave me the lifts. He gave me the challenge, and I just owe J.T. Moore so much, and I think, you know, really, I just can't say enough, and I hate to keep on talking here. I think our young people today, you know, they need a lot of leaders. They need a lot of heroes around the community. It seems like I think that sometimes we don't pay enough attention to the underdogs. You know, you'd be surprised what these underdogs can do. You know, you just give them a chance. There's about a 10 or 15% of people that's going to take care of themselves. They're going to make it, all right? Some of these other people just need a little pat on the back, and you'd be surprised what they'll do. They'll give you 110%. Naturally, you cannot win football games. You people have been standing up here tonight and saying Bob Dilday this, Bob Dilday that. Let me tell you something. Mothers and dads put some pretty good genes together. You know, I had some pretty tough kids out there working. I had some kids out there that could take it. I had some kids out there that wanted discipline. I had some kids out there that didn't know they were beaten. They'd go in again. My kids at the end of as the years went on, we didn't care who we played. We never said who was going to beat. We couldn't wait to find out, And we didn't brag about it. We didn't put on the big show, And I think that's the big thing is in Weakley County here in the football. I've seen so much better coaching in the last 7 or 8, 10 years or lately because the kids go out there, you win, you go over and shake hands and things of this nature, and that's what I like. Get ready for the next one. Also, all the football players, I think what I've enjoyed the most, I know what I've enjoyed the most. I've enjoyed my times out on the football field. It's just something about football season that, fires me up. I need football, so I like football. When a game's going on out there, I'm involved in the game. If I have one advantage, I get involved in the game. I know what's going on. I'm looking for weaknesses. It's like leading an army up and down the field or something like that. I need that. So, yeah, I love football. Now, I'd like to just go back here just 1 second. I'm not going to take too much more time. But as far as Michigan goes, I was up there about a week or so ago and had to take care of some things. There's a lot of problems up in Michigan. I'm going up there and I'm going to try to find something. But, if I'm not sure I will, because services that you look into and so forth and so on, they're behind times and waiting lists and different things like that. I'm sorry to leave Weakley County. I'm sorry to leave all you people. I made a big stand in Michigan, and I had everything going my way. That was the first big stand I made. I came down here, and I had to prove myself again. I mean, not to anybody else, to myself. I'm a best friend. I'm a worst critic. But I'm at a good stand, and I got a good life going. Now I've got to make another stand. But that's not going to be a problem. It's not going to be a problem because I'm going to do it. I'm going to set my mind to it. I'm going to make another stand, and I'm going to be as tough as I have to be. I'm going to close here, and people, I could mention every one of you's name and, brag about every one of you. We have all got to start, taking part. And young people today, recognizing young people, recognizing their problems, more community involvement. We've got to help our teachers. I see so many of the teachers that I teach with, and what they go through, nowadays, discipline's a big thing, and so I don't want to, just make anything negative here tonight, but there is a lot of problems. We've got to get involved. And, the people that's got to get involved, it's the men. We've got to start being a man again. We've got to start taking care of some of this discipline. We can't always give the person an apple. We're trying to please the young people too much instead of the young people trying to please us. I love them all, but we all need discipline. And I think us men, we've got to get involved. We can't just turn it over to the elementary teachers or the moms that work all day. They're tired and they get home. Yeah, why did we do so good in football? Discipline. Right? We'd go out there and work and work and work, and we loved it. Some of these people's names that was mentioned here tonight, they loved it. We could say, hey, let's go out and turn the lights on. They'd run over there and get their football equipment. I seen Philip over there. He's sitting there pumping, wanting to be back on the field again. I want you to remember 2 or 3 things here, okay? Never underestimate your opponent. Has everybody got that? Never underestimate your opponent. Got that? Always know how to choose up sides. We all learned how to choose up sides back in 2nd grade, didn't we? 3rd grade and so forth. Always know how to choose up sides. Tough people, my dad taught me this, never cull your opponent. If you're going to be a fighter, fight them all. Don't cull them. Don't be a bully. I can't stand bullies. And your rights and my rights end where other people's begin. Think about it. You don't step on my rights, I won't step on your rights. We all got rights, and they all end where other people's begin. People, I love you all. I'm not going to slow down. I'm going to go as long as I live, and that's a promise to you. I don't care if you want to sleep in. We're going to keep going. And I want to thank everybody for being here. Roy, thanks for putting up with me for 12 years. And, I know you've had a lot of phone calls. Okay, but that's all right. They were fun. Robert, thanks for all the bus trips. Jug, thanks for driving out there and getting me off of that tractor right. And Clay, thanks for building my house out there for $7 a square. Paul, thanks for the $200 you've paid me every Saturday morning for your program. And Bob Owen, thanks for that 3% money. You know, he knew I wasn't making much, and he tried to help me out. 3%, he's got it right down there. I'm telling you now, you can get all you want. And the main thing I want to thank here tonight is the football players. With all you people that played for me, I love every one of you. I'm serious about it. I'd rather have my football players respect me 10 years from now as love me today. If they can respect me 10 years from now, they can hate me today. And I'm sure old Danny Ellis, the one time down in that locker room when he wasn't putting out, if he'd had a gun, he'd have shot me. But I think old Danny has come along and done real good, and he's learned a lot of lessons for the football field and all of you. So would the football players really stand up, please? That's it, Paul.
Bob, I believe that we ought to have here, there are two people been awful important to this, and I'm going to ask them to stand. Hold your applause, please. We couldn't have thrown this thing, or it couldn't have happened without Jerry Simmons. Jerry, would you stand, please? And Paul Tinkle, you've worked a lot on this thing. Paul, would you please stand? Now let's give these people a hand here. Now, no one else has been able to get this lady up, but I think it's only proper and fitting that she gets up because she's put up this fellow all these years, and especially these 12 years he's been here, we know about. And it wasn't all, a cup of tea, because Bob Dilday had a fellow came in a couple of days ago and wanted to talk about the tickets. And I said, he said, yeah, it seemed like there's some tickets for sale to Bob Dilday there. I said, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. He said, well, that's all right. And I said, well, tell me about it. I didn't mean to tell this, Coach, but I will. He said, well, that man's more set in his ways than anybody I've ever known in my life. He said, let me tell you about the 4 people in Gleason that are more set in their ways than anybody else. He said, Buddy Robinson, Clay Wilson, Bob Owen, and Bob Dilday, and said not necessarily in that order. So, Margaret, you come up and stand up by me. I'm cold. Now, come up here and... Let's give this pretty lady a good hand. She put up with a lot.
People, there's just one person I've just got to mention, Jack Jeter. I think there's one person that I would want to evaluate me. It'd be Jack Jeter, because he's over there and he's watching practice all the time. And he ports into his lawn and comes out on the football field, and ever so often, he'll decide he's going to walk across the street, walk up and watch a little bit more. I'll walk over sometime and talk to him just a little bit. So I really want to thank you, Jack, for all the support, and I just want you to know that,
This has lasted longer than we ever expected, and you know that. But I would say Bob Dilday, nobody left. They all stayed. And they all were here to let you know they love you, and they care about you, and they're going to miss you. Before you leave tonight, if you'd like, Coach Dilday will remain up here. If you'd like to come by and shake his hand or say a special word to him, I'm sure he'd like to see you, and I know that there's no way he could get out and see you out there. As we close, I'm going to ask Brother Chris Ward from the First Baptist Church to come up, because I think it's only fitting with everything that's been done here by you people in Gleason tonight. This is a wonderful occasion for Gleason, for the people of Gleason. Not necessarily for Bob Dilday, because he would say, as I say, you people have certainly turned out to honor one of your own.
You've been listening to 30 Minutes, a community affairs program on Thunderbolt Radio. You can listen to this broadcast and others anytime by visiting thunderboltradio.com and following the Thunderbolt Radio and Digital YouTube page. Thanks for listening.